So the lesson I'm going to be explaining is lesson 2 of my 3-lesson learning segment over asking and answering questions. And this lesson specifically focuses on asking questions. So prior to this lesson, the students learned the different words that are used to form questions. So who, what, when, where, why, and how. And they, for this lesson, should also be able to write and complete sentences with correct capitalization and punctuation, and should also know how to use their iPads because their iPads will be used at the end of this lesson. So some mistakes that may be made during this lesson are students may form declarative sentences, which are the statement sentences, instead of using interrogative statements or question sentences. So to minimize this confusion, I will place this document on the Promethean board for the students to use as reference to help them distinguish between the two to make sure they're actually forming question sentences and making sure that they're actually using the question mark instead of the period. So the overall objective for this lesson is that second grade students will model asking questions by creating a 2-minute video with their partner that I have selected for them. So the theories I used to help develop this lesson are both of Vygotsky's, and they are the zone of proximal development and his theory on social development. So the zone of proximal development is when students are able to perform some skills independently and then some skills with assistance. And those skills that are needed with assistance are found to be in their zone of proximal development, and it's when the teacher or I will help guide them through the process in order to help them reach the right answer, so also known as scaffolding. And then the social development theory is that students need social interaction in order to develop cognitive development. So by placing them with students, they are able to feed off of each other's answers and help brainstorm and come up with ideas that they may not have come up with if they had not been placed with their peers. So let's get into the lesson. So I will begin the lesson by showing the students a short film over a cartoon character, which just happens to be Forky from Toy Story 3. And in this video, Forky is going around asking all of his friends a bunch of questions. So this video is just to get the students thinking about asking questions and the purpose as to why we may ask these questions. So once the video is over, I will ask the whole class, why do you think we ask questions? And once I've heard from a few students, I will explain to them that we ask questions to help us better understand, and that also asking questions can help us become better learners and readers. I will also explain to them that we can ask questions before, during, and after reading a text or book. And then I will remind them that yesterday we learned the words that are used to form these questions, which is who, what, when, where, why, and how, and that they will be using those words today to form their questions. So after a mini lesson on asking questions, I will tell the students that we are going to be practicing forming and asking questions through a teacher interview. I will explain to the students that they will need to use the words who, what, when, where, why, and how to form their questions that they want to ask me. And then I will model a few examples, which may include, Miss George, what is your favorite ice cream flavor? Where is your favorite place to go for vacation? Or, how many people live in your house? This way the students have an idea about what I'll be looking for. So throughout the interview, I will help guide the students if they are struggling with forming a question, but also this will be a time where I will be doing an informal assessment by using my teacher interview checklist. So on this side, I will write down all the students' names, and then in the middle, I will mark down if they excelled at doing this activity or if they struggled. And in each box, I will write down the question that they have asked me, so that way I can use this as reference to figure out what most students are having trouble with and what students are excelling at. I will also remind the students that during this interview that they need to be respectful of their classmates' questions that they're asking, because we all come up with different ideas and we all need to be respectful and courteous of those. So I will just make sure that I establish those rules, that there will be no making fun or snickering about what the students ask during this interview. So once every student has thought of and asked me a question, I will tell them that they're going to be putting their question skills to the test while we read the book Stellaluna. I will explain to the students that while I'm reading the book, I will stop at certain points and have the students come up with questions that they thought of while I've been reading. In this way, I can target questions that can be formed at the beginning of the book, in the middle of the book, and at the end of the book. So I'm targeting all three areas that I want them to focus on while asking questions. This activity will also help the students form questions about a text, which will be very important for them to know and understand later on in this lesson. So after reading the book and practicing asking questions, I will explain to the students our last activity. I will tell them that I'm going to pair them up and that they will need to read a short story with their partner. They will get to choose from 3 books. 1 is The Patchwork Bike, 2 is Giraffe Problems, and 3 is Norman, One Amazing Goldfish. And all 3 of these books vary in reading levels, so this way I am targeting all my students' reading levels. Even though most of my students are able to read at the 2nd grade level, some are more able to read at a higher 2nd grade level, and then some are just now reaching that 2nd grade level. So all 3 of these books target each level, and this way the students can pick a book, and if they know that it's too hard, they can go back and grab a different book that fits their reading level. So after reading the book with their partner, they will develop a video asking questions about the book that they just read, and I will explain to them that they need to make sure that they have questions from the beginning of the book, so thoughts of what they thought before even reading the story, so just by looking at the front and back covers, and then questions in the middle of the book, and then questions at the end of the book. So the questions at the end of the book could include what they think is going to happen next, or what surprised them in the book. So this way the students are having a wide array of questions and they're just not focusing on one section of the book. I will also mention that the video needs to be at least 2 minutes long, that both partners need to be in the video, not just one asking the questions, and that if they so choose, they may add pictures if they think it will help make their video easier to understand. While the students are making their videos, I will be walking around and observing what the students are coming up with and their thinking processes for developing these questions. And I will also still have this document up on the Promethean board, so the students can refer to that to help them make sure that they are actually forming question sentences. And if time allows, once everyone has finished their videos, we will come together and share the videos together as a class. Again, this will be another instance where I will tell the class how we need to be respectful and courteous of our classmates' videos, because having that positive environment is extremely important to me, and I want to make sure that my students are able to feel open to sharing what they've made. And so by telling them that they need to be respectful during this time just shows that the students don't have to be afraid of being made fun of, or that their classmates are going to laugh at them because of what they've made. And to wrap up the lesson after all the videos have been watched, I will inform them that tomorrow we'll be focusing on learning how to answer these questions. So the language function of this lesson is modeling, because the students are modeling how to properly ask and form questions when they create their 2-minute partner video. And since the students learned the day before about who, what, when, where, why, and how, the only 2 new vocabulary words that the students will be using and referencing in this lesson is declarative and interrogative, which are the 2 different types of sentences that the students may end up getting confused with during this lesson. So as I mentioned earlier, my informal assessment will be done at the beginning of the lesson when I ask the students questions like, why do you think we ask questions? So I'll be taking note about what they are saying during that time. Also, the teacher interview, when I use my teacher interview checklist, and then while I am observing the students while they are making their videos, I'll be making notes about how they are doing and if students are struggling with this task or not. So then my formal assessment will be the video that the students are actually making, and I will be looking for if the video is 2 minutes long, if both the partners participate in the activity, if the sentences that they're actually forming are questions, and if the questions that they are forming are from the beginning, middle, and end of the book. And I will be using a rubric to assess the videos that I will give to the students before making the video, so they know exactly what I am looking for. So the main strategy that the students are using during this lesson is reading comprehension, because they are having to refer back to the book and fully understand what they are reading in order to come up with the questions. This lesson also requires the students to work on their language convention skills, because throughout the lesson they will be forming sentences and they need to make sure that they are using the correct punctuation. Since we are working on questions, they need to make sure they have the question mark instead of using the period. And in their video, they're also working on forming complete sentences. As for my one student in my class that has an IEP for attention issues, I will make sure to pair them with a student of a higher ability for the video making, because this way the student can help keep the student with the IEP on track and can help them focus. And then I will make sure to place them in an area of minimal distractions while we are doing our group activities, as well as give them something to fidget with. That way they can stay on task and able to listen, and stand up in the back of the room if they need to, or walk around if that's what helps keep them attentive to what they are learning.